I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I have a couple of things I need to state in my chairman's update. One is that the board received an email today with a packet of attached documents from Bill Birch, a checklist on maintenance items. And he needs me to make a public announcement that stating that these are available on the school's website for public view. And anybody is interested in viewing them, we have a copy here at the meeting, but no action needs to take place. This is strictly informal. Apparently, Bill, you need to do this annually?
That's correct.
Okay. He goes through and checks all the maintenance systems at each school. They are available on our website. Also, interestingly, there's a textile show at the library that you can all go and see. It's running through January on library hours, and I have 2 pieces in there. One of them being a tiger. Go Tigers. It's a very, very busy month with all the musical reviews and the holiday presentations and everything else that happens in December, and also snow days and no power days and all the fun stuff that happens. But I want to wish you and everyone here at the school a happy holiday, and I'll see you all next year. If I don't see you sooner. I will see a couple of you sooner. We have some meetings. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and I'll open the floor now to citizens' comments. Any citizens from the floor have any comments? On Zoom, any citizens
Kathleen,
on Zoom?
I think.
Oh, we do have a citizen's comment. I'm sorry.
Mike, yeah.
Please come to the mic.
My name is Chris Murphy. Do I have to give my address still?
Yes.
8 Leo Circle. I live in Quinnebog, Connecticut. I am also an employee here at the cafeteria. I've been here about 23 years. I'm just here. There's actually a few of us that are here, and that we just wanted to let you know that we know that the food director position is on the agenda. And we wanted to come be here if you had any questions. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to speak now or wait until it was brought up. But we're hopeful with this contractual agreement. We really hope that we want to remain feeding the kids. So, and we know how important this is, and we know the state it's in right now, and it's just important to all of us. And I just really, really want you guys to know that. We've all been here for a long, long time, all the employees. There's about 6 or 7 of us full-timers, and there's about 3 or 4 of us part-timers. And you know, those of you that have kids there, or that have come through, when you go home and you tell them that I spoke, they are going to know who we all are. We do make quite the impact on all of them. But I'm here, like I said, and we are, when it comes up, if there's questions regarding it. But again, I just want everyone to know that we're hopeful with it. We're not afraid of it, and we welcome it.
Okay, thank you. It's very good to know.
And just for the board members to know, even though I'm not supposed to directly respond, Chris actually has been on the interview team for every interview that we've held. Obviously, she has the area of expertise, and the candidates that we've had come through just have not been adequate.
Okay. Any members on Zoom have comments, citizens' comments? Hearing none, then I'll move on to our student spotlight. I believe we have one tonight.
They're both very excited to speak at the mic.
Our first quarter student spotlight is Samantha Keller. Each quarter, Turtle Up Memorial High School Student Spotlight Program recognizes a student who has demonstrated outstanding achievement, character, leadership, attitude, and/or contributions to the school and community. Our first quarter Student Spotlight honoree is senior Samantha Keller. Samantha was nominated by Megan Noctegal, who had this to say about Samantha. She is the sweetest classmate I've ever had, along with being one of the most hardworking students I've ever seen. She always makes my day better just by seeing her face, and she never fails to make me laugh and smile. I am extremely grateful to call Sam one of my closest friends. If anyone deserves to be the Student Spotlight, it would be Sam. She goes out of her way to help me when I need it with both homework and just a safe space to talk, and she would do that for anyone that comes her way. Another Turtle Out student, Aviana Blair, said Sam is a dedicated person to her work and friends. She is such a bright person to be friends with and will always light up in a room. Gianna Brinson wrote, I think Sam should be this quarter Student Spotlight because she is one of the kindest people I have ever met. Whether I'm upset about something, Sam is always there to cheer me up. She is always the first person to compliment me about anything and always has such a positive attitude. Her joy is infectious and makes me laugh all the time. She is nice to all of her teachers and her peers. She works really hard and constantly gives 100%. She is the best and is really deserving of this recognition. Samantha's teacher, Mrs. Veer, wrote, Samantha is truly a ray of sunshine. She brings positivity and warmth wherever she goes. Her constant happiness and kindness makes her a joy to be around. Her work also reflects her dedication and care. She is always completed with precision, and it is always completed with precision and neatness. Sam's cheerful demeanor inspires people around her to strive for their best. Mrs. Steglitz, guidance counselor, added, Sam Keller is such a thoughtful and dynamic young lady. It has been a pleasure having her in our school, and I know her future is bright. I am proud to call her a Turtle Out Tiger. Another one of Samantha's teachers, Mrs. Langer, said, Samantha is a breath of fresh air. She is always upbeat and has a smile on her face, bringing a positive vibe to my classroom. Samantha is extremely articulate and produces high-quality work every day. The real gift that Samantha has is she makes everyone feel welcome and important. It is a pleasure to have Sam in my class and even more an honor to know her. Lastly, Ms. Williams shared, it is a true delight to have Samantha as a student. She is hardworking and conscious, qualities that reflect the value she places on learning. I admire her willingness to be involved in class, whether she is asking questions, offering help to a classmate, or volunteering to read a part in Hamlet. Samantha is also a kind and funny person, and I always enjoy chatting with her, whether we are discussing a Jane Austen novel or the value of function over form when selecting a new cell phone case. When asking what motivates her, Samantha says, I am motivated by almost everything, but if I had to pin it down, I would say the gift of life. I was taught from a very young age that we are put on this earth to give and receive love as Jesus once did, nothing more, nothing less. My main motivation when I wake up every morning is to carry out his mission and love everyone in my life to the fullest I possibly can. Samantha contributes to her community in various ways. She shared, for the past year I worked at Dunkin' Donuts making everyone's coffee with a never faltering smile on my face. I made it my mission to brighten each person's day to the best of my abilities. According to Sam, her future plans involve daycare work, babysitting, along with her CNA license. All amazing ways to contribute to people's lives, she is extremely passionate and excited about. Sam wrote that in the future, after I receive my CNA license, I plan to work at a nursing home during my years of college. I plan on attending QVCC for my first year of education, then transferring to a 4-year school, in hopes of receiving a teaching degree. However, nothing is set in stone, and I want everyone to know that that's absolutely okay. Sam was asked if there was an accomplishment she wanted to share. Her response was, when I was in 8th grade as student council president at my Catholic school, I raised over $1,000 for the local food share. Finally, Samantha's message to her school and community is, it would truly make a difference to me if everyone tried to wake up in the morning and love themselves. Once you become truly happy with yourself, your positive energy will radiate throughout your life. Making others happy and truly caring about the people around me is the driving force of my life, and it is very rare for me to have a bad day. Being mean is not cool, and it will end up making you much more miserable in the long run. Going out of your way to brighten someone's day, that is the real gift, and I promise from the bottom of my heart you will feel like $1 million.
I know exactly who she is. Now that you heard the Dunkin' Donuts thing, she does bring smiles.
Yes, she does. And she's here with us today. Do you want to stand up?
Hi, guys.
Congratulations.
So for December 2024 Board of Education Liaison Report, for our events, girls basketball started December 2nd, and Deck the Halls also began. On the 3rd, TMHS open house was 6 to 7:30. On the 4th, at 6:30, the music department had their winter concert. On the 5th, boys basketball and indoor track began, and at 4 p.m. the TSL tree set up at the library for the Festival of Trees. On the 6th, from 10:30 to 2:05, the TSLT had their in-service, and 5:30 to 8:30, the class of 2028 offered a parents' night out for students grades K to 4. On the 10th, progress reports for quarter 2. On the 11th, there will be a faculty meeting. On the 12th, the boys basketball team has their scrimmage at 4 p.m. 12:16 to 12:20 will be TMHS Holiday Spirit Week. The 18th is the girls basketball home opener at 6 p.m. And the 20th, TMHS will have their winter pep rally. Other news and highlights: the TSLT hosted the first TMHS Olympics on November 26th, which replaced Powder Puff. Powder Puff was a traditional whole school event before Thanksgiving. The TSLT met its goals of having a more inclusive event while building school spirit by offering a class competition with a wide variety of events such as chess, charades, Mario Kart, general and music trivia, name that tune, a drawing of Mr. Mellon contest.
It was great.
Spelling bee, musical chairs, and athletic competitions like basketball and dodgeball. Also, TMHS hosted its open house on the 3rd. The assembly program included guest speakers, including TMHS graduate from the class of 2022, Zainab Akun, and TMHS parent Carrie Lewis, along with TMHS staff and student leaders who gave an overview of the wide variety of opportunities that TMHS has to offer. Following the assembly, attendees were taken on a tour where they visited culinary, the art studio, the shop, and the music room. At each stop on the tour, parents and future students heard program highlights from the staff and students who facilitate and participate in these pathways. And for our student voice, students voiced concern over the need to wait to go to the bathroom due to the number of students throughout the building that are allowed by the security system to sign out at one time. At the request of the student council, Mr. Mellon arranged for an increase in the number of students allowed to sign out to go to the bathroom from 3 to 5. Students are very appreciative of this adjustment and have noticed less of a need to wait.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to do the administrative reports now. We'll start with Mr. Millen from the high school.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to touch upon a couple things that the students just brought up. The last meeting we had here, we sort of discussed the idea of having an open house for our 7th and 8th grade students to really promote all the really good things that we do at Tortolot. I would say the event was very, very successful. We had a good turnout relative to what people told me. So again, this is my first year here. But it was one of those things where you put it out there, you don't know how many people are going to show up, and I think we had a good number of families come out. Students, faculty, all did a tremendous job volunteering their time and just putting our best foot forward and showing the community what our school has to offer. Which again, I look at it as, in a heartbeat, I'd send all my boys to the school if I could. I mean, I think of it that highly, and I think the community needs to know that, and we want to keep more students here, and hopefully with things like that, and then our shadow days that we started to do now, where students can shadow some of our seniors or juniors, and then we're going to do another one in the spring where they're going to shadow programs, so it's going to look a little bit differently. But really, positive messages. The one negative we got was the condition of our lockers. Some of the parents noticed the conditions they were in, and it's something that we hope to try to improve upon and get those redone. We're really working on branding right now. We just got I got all the proofs in for all the athletic things that we'll be putting up on the gym doors. I just showed Josh Carlson. He's very excited. Not many people have seen them yet. Mrs. Spinelli and I worked at, what would look good for the students, what would promote that Tiger Pride. So that's going to be a nice, I think, touch for a relatively inexpensive price with the bang for the buck. I think, people will notice. And again, athletics is a big draw to schools, whether we like it or not. In some cases, athletics in some families are, high up, and I get that as a dad who coaches, did coach for a long time. Sports are important, but what we have to offer besides our sports with our pathway programs and the welding and the culinary, it's just the school has the whole package, so we want, people to realize that. The other thing we're doing, I'm working with Danette, and working with Bianca Prouty, who works with our photography department, at really adding to our website to promote all the really good things that we're doing so people can get visuals, can see videos. I think it's important, again, to spread our message. We're getting more and more Instagram followers, which is a good thing, and as we get more, we'll promote more on our Instagram, because that's really the social media aspect of things. That's what people do nowadays to get information. So, any questions?
No questions. Comment on the open house. I thought it was extremely well done, and I actually got a comment from a parent whose student was particularly interested in Ellis, and once he saw the offerings that we had, he is preferring to stay here.
Great.
So I think the timing was great, especially after all those schools already coming in, and it just, aside from the condition of the lockers, I think it was good. It was really good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Guerrero?
Kathleen, Tom has his hand up.
Oh, okay.
Principal, we haven't met in person yet. Been on the board for 17 years. Also graduated from Florida in 1986. Three-sport athlete. So I really commend that what you said about being an athlete. In addition to everything that we have to offer. I have one question. We corrected last year prior to you coming here. Can you please explain what's going on with the restroom? I thought we corrected that last year, and it seems now it's an issue.
With the restroom, you said?
That's what the students just brought our attention.
Yeah, so we have a sign-out system. You want to explain it?
Oh, yeah, so nowadays, everything's done through electronic passes. So we have what's called Securely. And what it does is the system can be set up in a myriad of different ways. Say you didn't want to have two students out at the same time that maybe aren't getting along. The system wouldn't generate a pass for those two students. The system keeps track of how many kids are going to the bathroom, how long they're in there. So it gives us good data that we can then discuss. If the students are spending a considerable amount of time out of class, we can pick up that data as well. Originally, the system, I think, defaulted at the number of 3, which just wasn't enough students at a time. So there was a sort of a backlog, and we were also sort of double dipping. We had a notebook sign-in as well, which was wasting time for the students. So we eliminated that, and we upped the number of passes to 5. And we can always make adjustments as we see fit for that.
Okay, so we're not restricting the restroom usage.
No, in any emergency event, students can go at any time they need to. This is just a way to keep the flow, no pun intended, orderly. And it's a really, really good system that most high schools and middle schools utilize.
All right, I appreciate the explanation. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you, you too.
Following up on that, does that involve using the cell phones, which I thought we were trying to reduce the use of cell phones?
No,
Okay.
every classroom has a kiosk,
Okay.
so they just use like a Chromebook to sign in and out, and there's another one near the bathroom.
Okay,
So
thank you.
phone usage has been pretty stellar. Again, they're allowed to use them in the cafeteria, but other than that, unless teachers need it for a project, the kids have been really good about,
That's good to
not
know.
using them, so
Thank you.
it's been nice to see. Thank you.
Any others? Okay. Ms. Scritta.
I wanted to do a little show and tell tonight. All right. Well, happy holidays to everyone, and I hope everyone has a safe and a healthy new year. So this evening, I wanted to point out a new program that we have at our STEM classroom, and we hired Mr. Bernia, and he has done an outstanding job so far with our students. You go in that room and you will see him, the kids they have the drills, they have the saw, they are doing it all with safety. So I just thought I would show you, because it's very exciting to me to see and introducing them to the pathways that, again, will lead to construction and engineering at the high school. So we want to make that connection. So these are things that the kids have done. What I like about Mr. Bernia's classroom is he always gives them a choice, and they map things out. They have to measure, and he's also doing some cross-curricular instruction with the math teachers and the science teachers, which is really exciting. So things that they're studying in the math class, dimensions, and they're actually doing points X and Y, and so that's all making sense to them by putting it to use. So as you can see, some really interesting designs. So the audience at home, this one is really cool. I don't want to break it, that's why I put them on the cart. They said, watch me take them and I'll break it, but as you can see, it was very creative. So I thought you guys would be interested in seeing the things that they're developing. Good stuff, right? Right. So, and of course, I am so blessed. Mrs. Platchek and myself, we have a fantastic faculty. It's really shaping up, and things are great at the middle school. So kudos to all my staff members. We are complete. We have our new resource special education teacher who just started. She is working out marvelously. Great addition. We look forward to our new music teacher and next week. Thank goodness. So we're excited. We also, the big highlight this month was we kissed a pig and see what we do for money. But so we raised $487, and that goes towards our PBIS, which we've been doing a lot more, really working with the kids on our attendance and engagement in the classroom with our ticket system. So that's that. And we also, Friday, we'll have pajama day for Connecticut Cancer, the hospital. So all of us will be wearing pajamas on Friday. That's it. Middle school, any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Galadio?
All right, thank you.
I noticed you're not on Kiss the Pig.
Oh, I kissed the pig.
You kissed the pig?
You didn't notice that Mrs. Plaschek and myself volunteered.
I see.
We didn't even leave the cot, but we still kissed the pig. See what we do?
I would have paid money to see that.
Next time.
Okay, let me know.
Let me know, I want to give you
Okay, Mr. Prentice.
Hi folks, how are you?
Very good.
No pigs, no
No pigs.
props, no dancing, no singing. I can't do any of that. Electric Boat General Dynamics continue to come to the elementary school. Just recently, they were working on stenciling submarines out of soap, and they're having a blast with it. So shout out to Lynn Jewett and, of course, Mrs. Smith for letting that happen. It's a really neat thing for the elementary school. Mrs. Valley is hosting the Little Shoppers Shop tomorrow, starting tomorrow. We have a lot of parents coming down to the elementary school to help out Mrs. Valley, so always a really fun thing for young elementary students to purchase gifts for their parents or uncles or aunts or guardians or whomever. Attendance team continues to meet regularly. We have reached out to a number of parents. We put together some attendance awards for students and handed them out last week. And the kids thought that was pretty neat, and so did we. So any kind of incentive to keep kids coming to school, which is a big deal. The composting program, as you know, started last month. It continues to go well. It's interesting watching a 5 or a 6-year-old just go through what they need to go through on the plate and where to throw it, and boy, they really seem confused sometimes. But it's going all right. Nicole Beck has offered actually to put together a couple lessons on composting for the kids to connect what's happening in the cafeteria to real world stuff. So finally, shout out to Mrs. Sousa and Mr. Depot for the birth of their children. Well, Mrs. Sousa and Mr. Sousa, and Mr. Depot and Mrs. Depot on the birth of their children. We had PJ Day on Friday. Shout out to Andrea Tomeo. It's something that she does every year. Really fun thing for the kids. PTO did breakfast with Santa on Saturday. Really good turnout. I was pleased to see a lot of different families there. Had a lot of fun. Always a good time. And of course, the winter concert is coming up on the 18th. Juliana George working hard, teachers working hard, students working hard. Cookies and cocoa with Santa on the 19th. Excited about that. Hopefully Chef Fran at the high school can help us with the cocoa part of it. I reached out to him and he said he'd be happy. He and his students would be happy putting that together. So cookies and cocoa, always fun. And that's just about it at the elementary school.
Any questions for Mr. Prentice?
Thank you.
Mr. Jones is not with us tonight. Dr. Jones is not.
Dr. Jones is not here today.
Okay.
You have his update, and I think I sent you a little overview in my briefs about that.
Okay. All right, Mr. Steglitz.
Hi, everybody. The finance report is actually pretty consistent with last month. Unfortunately, we're seeing continued deterioration when it comes, that's probably a bad word to use, but continued challenges when it comes to our pupil services department. And that's really what we're seeing in the numbers. Year-to-date spending at $8.3 million, 38.6% of the budget. That's up from where we were at this point last year. Encumbrances are slightly lower in tracking. Total projected spending right now at just under $21 million, or 97.3% of the budget. Keep in mind, this does not include, as I say every month, we have not received the payments for special ed excess cost yet. Once again, expected to be around $340,000. Two departments, same as last month. Pupil services right now, the deficit is projected at $930,000. The same drivers, paraprofessional expenses, special education teacher salaries, RBT and related spending, and out-of-district placements. That's really where we saw the increase from month to month this year with, I believe it was 2 or 3 new outplacements in the month of October into November.
Yep.
The overages are slightly offset still by better than expected special education transportation costs. The other department was ESY and the $122. I'm not going to mention that every month. I think we can put that behind us at this point since it's over. The auditors were in the week before Thanksgiving. It went very well. They were pleased with the finance team's preparation. I greatly appreciate their efforts. We made a real big push this year to get them even more of the information they look for up front. But as usual, an audit isn't over in those 3 days, so there's a considerable amount of work that happens after they're out of the field. But I will keep the board updated on that. On the budget front, most of the templates have been received from across the district. And Eileen Deary and myself are starting to work through and pull together the budget package. All of that work happens over the next month or so, and then we'll get a really good look at where things shake out. Folks have been very responsive. We've had some questions going back and forth, as you guys are all very familiar with the process, so there's still a lot of work ahead. It's very, very early in the process, but it's underway.
Okay. Very good. We'll be
Any
all set
questions?
for January, right?
Yeah, we'll be ready to go.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, Birch, what's happening in your facilities?
What'd you bring today?
So at this point, I guess the big news is the heat is on everywhere, everybody's warm. Last month, I spoke to you about a boiler leak in the middle school. Miraculously, it went away. Once the boilers heated up and got hot and stayed hot, it stopped. So I'm hoping that it lasts that way until spring, when we'll be looking at new boilers in that school. We did have some problems in the elementary school. The fuel delivery system failed miserably, and it cascaded from that. We spent a couple of weeks kind of trying to patch things together and get it running, which it is now. We still don't have the parts that are gonna straighten this out once and for all, so we're still working for that, but at the time, everything is working. The new plow truck is here. We sent it out to get the plow and sander on Monday, and actually, we picked it up in the middle of the snowstorm on Thursday. So it is here, so that helps things out a lot, because the old plow truck broke down on Monday. Bids are due for the HVAC project tomorrow. There has been a lot of interest. There have been a lot of questions, so we're all keeping our fingers crossed that we're gonna get several good bids and hopefully have some good numbers. From there, building committee will review them on Wednesday, and we'll probably have to have a special meeting before we can send it out to get approval. But the idea is that this has gotta go pretty quickly. Once we get these bids, we've gotta make a decision and get going, because the state has us under a very tight time frame to get this done. This time next year, we have to be finished. The middle school soccer field, we got that all deep aerated and seeded just before the weather turned, which was to our benefit, because now hopefully the seed's gonna stay dormant. And in the spring, we should have some opportunity to get some grass growing out there. We excavated all the old wood chips out of the old playground. The new wood chips have been delivered, but then it started to rain. So we haven't done much with them this week, and we will see where it goes from there. And I think that's pretty much what I have for you.
Any questions for Bill? Any questions for Bill, from the board members on Zoom? No? Okay, Bill, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Heather, is she with us tonight? I don't see her. Okay,
No, she couldn't make it this evening.
okay. Michelle? I know you've been very busy.
It has been a very busy couple weeks. So tonight I'm here to talk about the diversity plan. I did include in my packet what our current open positions are and what we filled in the last couple weeks. We have had a good hiring push in the last couple weeks. So last month I had mentioned that our diversity plan was given a conditional approval. We did need to redefine a couple of things for the feedback. So what I did was I went into the diversity plan with the tool, and in the first section, it was clear goals and theory of action. In the proposed revision, I tied our school's vision statement to increasing diversity to our teams and tied the theory and action to the diversity plans for the vision statement. That vision statement is specific to this diversity plan. In the second strategy, which was the strategy's key activities and vital processes, each goal was reevaluated to ensure it meets the direction of the strategies, and it was given feedback and more definitive timeline for a biannual review, which is what I missed in the beginning. And then the third piece of it was the resource communication and risk mitigation. For this section, I directed the actions with specific modes and messages that will be used. Again, we received a conditional approval. It was just reworking and adding a little bit more substance to what we had already accomplished. Once this plan is approved, I will implement it going forward, starting ASAP.
So does the state have to come back and give you?
The state is going to come back and give us again, we already have a conditional approval. They'll just give us a final approval. The timeline is up in the air. We originally put this in March, and we received the feedback in September, so I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get the next step. But I am doing some pre-work on it, and I'm working through everything so that as soon as we do get the approval, I can start right away. Okay? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Deb, you're starting a whole new season now, huh?
Yes, it is. Hi, everybody. We opened today with the middle school. It was supposed to open last Thursday, but we got sold out. Middle school played today. Boys won, girls lost, and the cheerleaders did their thing. High school girls open next week. We have a scrimmage with the boys coming Thursday. The girls start next week with Plainfield. Our numbers at the high school, the girls' team is made up of 10 girls. We're praying for no injuries. We have one team. We can only support one team, a varsity team. On the boys' side, we had 19 boys try out. We kept all 19. It's probably going to be 8 or 9 on the varsity. The rest will be rotating in on the JV. And we have about 15 kids running indoor track. So we're off to a start for the long haul. So I invite all of you to come and participate and have a great time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Deb. All right, the next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our regular meeting on November 12th.
Kathleen,
Yes,
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
thank you.
I will second that.
Matt has the second. Is there any discussion on these minutes? No? Okay. Hearing none, I'll put the motion to approve the minutes to the floor for a vote and to Zoom for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes to our regular meeting of November 12th, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay. Okay, at this point, the subcommittee, a report from our communications subcommittee.
Yeah, we met just today, and we had a whole laundry list of stuff, and I'll just kind of breeze through kind of what the topics were. We were talking about the pathways that are at the high school and the Reading Academy, and how we can increasingly market that so that people know that that's available. There's a letter writing campaign that Kristen had generated in terms of properly funding federally mandated and state mandated special education with links and all of that. So that's started. All Board of Ed members should definitely submit that if you haven't already. We did discuss the parent, student, staff, the panorama survey and how we can reduce it. Efforts were done with that. We had met with Melinda, we have met again to further kind of review. It's been reduced down by more than half of the questions, so that will, I think, make everybody happier. And we've kind of culled it down to kind of the real meat. We've discussed the incentive program, which is still targeting absenteeism as their main focus. And Melinda shared with us that we are, I think, almost half. We've improved from 26% to 12, you said?
12.
So that we think is making a difference. We have scheduled the 3rd annual TMHS Leadership Roundtable in conjunction with the Board of Ed and the high school for March 21st. All Board of Ed members are welcome to participate. There will be a roundtable discussion with the leaders in the high school, student leaders, as well as a luncheon provided. There is a letter writing campaign happening in the Villager with high school students, so that is something that's ongoing and one of the things that came from our group. Further, there's the capstone we talked about and how that's going to play out this year. This is the first full year of students going through the capstone process, and we were discussing potentially having community stakeholder participation. Let's see, high school tours to middle school students has occurred, 7th and 8th, as we just heard from Principal Mellon, and so I think that's a success, and we're looking to further those opportunities. We talked about communication methods to parents. That was something that has been discussed in past Board of Ed meetings as an issue, that there was too many ways that parents get communicated to, so we are looking at that to try to minimize and streamline that process. And then the 3 ongoing campaigns that we have is the Did You Know campaign that the school puts out on the Facebook page, just highlighting all of the kind of key features and things going on in all of our schools, as well as ways that we can promote all of the volunteer projects that the high school students are doing with our community, and then sports promotions and advertising opportunities within our districts. And I think that's about it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, now at this point,
Did Danielle ask you if we could move these 2 up under superintendent's report, D and E?
sure.
Thank you.
I was gonna suggest that too. Okay, I'm gonna make a suggestion that we move D and E under the superintendent's report, the food service director update and the approval of emergency food services up to be our first item. They'll become A and B, because we have some people from the cafeteria workers here, and we'd like them, they have to get up early in the morning, and we'd like to let them be able to go home. So,
Do you need a second, Kathleen?
do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, so let's get right into the food service update. Food service director update.
That would be me.
Okay.
So, as you know, at the end of September, we started putting out feelers for a update, for a new food service director. You know, Lisa Duran has done an amazing job running our food service program for many years. And we knew she was retiring this year. We started early. Michelle did a really good job of hitting not only our typical hiring sites, but she even networked within the school food service industry network, trying to get candidates. And we have interviewed several candidates, and none of the candidates can meet the expectations that we have for that particular position. So we're at a funny place here where Lisa will be retiring at the end of this month. So I reached out to Winston's Foods to have a conversation about how could they assist us as we're in the process of looking for a new director. And they came back, and they're online too. One of their representatives, Christine, is here online. And they are in the process of reviewing all of our food service data and are going to give us a quote for them to manage the business side of the food service department, which means that it's not going to impact our collective bargaining unit members. They're going to come in and manage the grants, the reimbursement, the ordering of food, all of the things that Lisa does on the business end of running that department. It's a good opportunity right now for us to have somebody external come in and assess the department anyway. I am sure it's been running beautifully all these years, but it's always nice to have somebody take another look. The food service company, and Christine will talk a little bit about that, is very familiar with the grant paperwork. Neither Bill Steglitz or I have any knowledge of that paperwork and how to process it and what the federal guidelines are and the state guidelines. It's extremely complex, and from what I understand from Christine and her colleagues, it is complicated to stay on top of. And so we do need some help with that. Christine, I'm gonna turn it to you for a few minutes. If you can talk a little bit about what that emergency contract would look like. We don't have a price, but I know you're going through all of our data as we speak.
We are. Thank you.
Am I echoing?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
Okay. Thank you very much for the time tonight. I am joined with Jeff Chadio, who is our district manager. And we just wanted a chance to say hello, introduce our company. We are a regionally based organization out of Long Island, but we have a pretty significant presence in Connecticut as well, including Ellington, Fairfield, Hamden, New Britain, Killingly, Somers, the list goes on. And we have an additional 32 accounts in Massachusetts as well. So we are really here just to provide some resources and support to your existing team. We are a minority business enterprise. And I think the two things that really separate us are that we are not tied to any sort of rebates, discounts, or NVDs. So that allows us to purchase from purveyors, whether that's locally or otherwise, based on the needs, preferences of your students. Our commitment is to healthier foods and really driving participation in your school lunch program. And at the end of the day, the way we do that is the people, our resources, and the food that we buy. We really pride ourselves on kind of clean ingredients. All of our salad dressings are natural. We use organic yogurts, Boar's Head deli meats, organic granola. We have a pretty extensive plant-based menu as well. Our meats are hormone-free. So really, what our goal is to just support the team that you have in place with our resources in an effort to get the program to wherever we want to really just increase the participation so that produce additional funding to put back into the program. I'm happy to answer questions. The way that the emergency contract works is that we are really just there for the remainder of the school year to provide oversight and guidance to the team. And that would include menus, nutritional support, and SLP compliance reporting, and supporting the on-site team. So I know that was a lot.
Thank you.
And just we're not outsourcing. That's not the goal. What we're doing is hiring someone to help us manage all of the grants and that end of it. Believe it or not, what I learned through the interview process is that Christine Murphy does a lot. And so she does the day-to-day operations, the scheduling, the managing of the staff. And so that end of things won't change. But we're in a situation where we have to do something because Lisa does want to retire. And she is traveling right after the holidays, so she's not even going to be available to consult with, and that's kind of our dilemma at this point. So I am hoping that once we get a formal quotation back from Christine and her colleagues, that you would approve that I move ahead in an emergency contract situation, so that we can keep food service uninterrupted.
When can we expect this quote?
Christine, do you know when we'll have the quote?
We should have something for your review tomorrow.
Great,
Oh, great.
thank you.
Super. Hey, I mean, something we're gonna have to do, so. Unless some miracle we have a person show up in the interviews, and that doesn't look very promising, Michelle.
Michelle?
Unfortunately, not right now, no.
Okay.
We can have some candidates, but unfortunately, really not the tools that we're looking for.
Matt has a question.
Yes.
So is it the particular school experience, or is it management experience, or is it the grant writing and all that processing? It sounds like it's a very niche kind of job. I mean, so is that why and you'd be stealing somebody from another school, I assume.
So we had some of those applicants,
Yeah.
and we were really hoping that we were going to be able to
Yeah.
do that, but the reference checks didn't work out. And so what we've been interviewing are people in the culinary world, or they're working for universities, which is a whole different grant processing system. So it's a little bit of everything, although the state is there to help guide any director that comes in. The problem is that this is mid-year, it's like baptism by fire, and we can't afford to lose 1 penny of the reimbursement. That's our biggest concern. And the idea that we might be able to try out working with a company, and there might be more purchasing power through a larger organization than we're working through EastCon for certain commodities and things like that. So, it's a good way to test the waters and see if that is even something we'd want to venture into. And then if that was the case and we wanted to keep management under a contract, then we have to go out to bid. This is just a Band-Aid until June. But it is a little bit of everything, although if we had someone that was in food service industry that we could train, and we can probably lean on Christine and her colleagues to help us train a candidate, we just haven't been able to find anyone that knows enough that could help with that. We're either getting somebody that's like an executive chef, and that's what they do all day, and know nothing about the other end. And I'm sure the ladies can agree, Lisa spends most of her time in the office doing paperwork.
Yeah. Right.
But I have also tried to reassure people that are interviewing that you have the time, and we have a good state contact, and I can pretty much manage what's going on in the store, so that they have the time to spend learning it. And I've also explained to them too that I'm open as well, learning all the state requirements.
So, Bill?
Tom has his hand up.
Tom has his hand up.
Yep, Christine, I'm not familiar with your company, but is this normal as to what we're experiencing? And then the second part of that is, what kind of turnaround time is there if we were to engage in something?
Sure. Unfortunately, we feel your pain as well, in that the last couple of years, especially post-COVID, has been exceptionally difficult to find people to work. The benefit that we have is that, we're already, we've got a number of accounts in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and our preference is always to kind of promote or give opportunity to our existing team members. So this may be an opportunity for someone that we have in-house already. I think we need to learn a little bit more about some of the priorities in the district to really make that determination for certain. But it's hard these days to find qualified candidates. It really is. And the point was made earlier is that there are a lot of nuances to K-12 food service, and with the complexity of the National School Lunch Program and the reimbursements, you certainly don't want to have a misstep or conversely a missed opportunity in terms of your reimbursement allocations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Doesn't get involved with the union at all. It doesn't.
No.
We don't have any problems with the union.
And that's why these women are here today, to say that, they're comfortable with having someone come in and run that end of things. And they volunteered to come here tonight.
I know. Thank you.
And I really, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the woman's name at the beginning, but your comments were very kind, and we're very grateful that you're open-minded to the partnership. We're just here to support, really, provide you resources to hopefully make your lives a little easier. But thank you for those comments in the beginning.
Appreciate that. Well, until we have a cost, I don't think we can make a determination.
Decision. Yeah, and I'll find out tomorrow, but we're going to have to move quickly, so I don't know how you want to handle. Bill and I are well aware of what the differential is between the food service director's salary and benefits from now until the end of the year. If we fall within that window of funding, we're okay. If it exceeds that, then we would have to come back and talk to the board about that.
We could have a quick Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Okay, it would only take us like 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
We all signed up. We could have a quick Zoom meeting to approve this as soon as possible. We'd have to have it before the end of the year.
Kathleen,
Yes.
I would suggest that if it doesn't exceed the known amount of what the cost would be, allow the superintendent to make that deal. If it's going to be that much more, then yes, we should do a meeting. But
Okay.
the money's already spent. Don't delay it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Bill. Yes. Okay. So we can make a motion that if it's not going to exceed or only exceed by a certain percentage, it may exceed by 5%, then we will allow her to make the deal.
Kathleen, I'd like to make a motion.
Yep.
I'd like to say that the board approves moving forward as long as the amount in question does not exceed our current budgeted amount from now to the remainder of the year by no more than 5%. And we give the authority to our superintendent as well as our director of finance to make that decision and approval.
I'd be happy to second that.
Okay. All right. So you've all heard the motion and the second. Any questions, discussion? Okay. All right. Hearing none, I'll put that motion. If it does not exceed the cost and benefits, the salary and benefits of our current director of food services by 5%, then we will go ahead and make the deal. And if it does, then we'll have to come back to the drawing board.
If it does, we can have a Zoom meeting. No problem. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Justin, I see you're online now. Thank you. All right.
Thank you for the time, the consideration. Take care.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
All right. Thank you, ladies, for coming.
We'll check in. We have January, February, March. If you want to invite us, we'll come back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go back to enrollment?
Yes.
Okay, so our enrollment, we are holding steady at 800 students. The discrepancy is that we lost one student at Marriott Fisher, so we have 355 students there. The middle school is steady at 263, and we gained a new student at the high school, and we have 181 students at the high school. You can see that our out-of-district numbers have remained the same, 24 last month, 24 this month. And our total number of students you can see at Killingly, Ellis, and the magnet schools have basically stayed the same.
80. Oof, we should be getting a whole lot from 80.
I have a question about
Yes.
enrollment. How are we doing in terms of foreign language new students? And I think I saw one. I don't have. Yeah.
2 students from Brazil moved in, one at the elementary, one at the high school. Heather Bruno is, getting busy servicing those students. We have a little cadre, a little population of families that have moved from Brazil. So Portuguese being the primary language. We have about 6 or 7 languages now in the district, and we're teetering around 20, 21 students that require L services. And as you know, we had increased Mrs. Bruno from part-time to full-time, and it is challenging because she's servicing the entire district. So she's running from preschool kids all the way to grade 12. So it's a lot, but right now it's doable. I don't know what the future is going to bring. Last January, February was when we got an influx of about 7 students that didn't speak English. So I don't know what after the holidays will bring.
Another question about that is, so it's you said 21 students?
About that, yeah.
How many different families? Just me being curious.
6 or 7 different languages, but as far as families, I don't know the count on that.
Okay, I just be.
Yeah, I can find that out for you, though.
Okay.
Kathleen, just real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Melinda, are you seeing anything on the superintendent side, whether at your meetings? Are there any government grants or anything coming down the line to assist as our demographics change in our towns? And we are getting more of a, diverse, whether it's ethnicity, whatever. Are you seeing any grants or anything coming forward that's going to help subsidize the being multilingual, bilingual, trilingual, whatever?
So I'm going to give you 2 answers to that question. The first one is no. That falls under the same situation that special education does, that the students have this particular learning need, and it is up to the community to support that. There is something called Title III, and we get Title III dollars, but because Thompson is allocated less than $10,000, we have to join a consortium with EastCon. And in the past, if Marionappolis, Susan Wayne didn't take their allocation of Title III dollars, we were able to keep those dollars. So every year we would keep around $7,000 or $8,000, and we would put it into professional training for teachers, some learning materials for our students, and maybe some after-school teacher time so that they could work with either a consultant or a Title III teacher. This year, because we were part of that consortium, because Marionappolis and Susan Wayne didn't take about $7,000, they took that money away from us and they redistributed across the entire consortium, which means all the districts that are in the EastCon consortium. So where we thought we were getting $8,000, we ended up with $1,000, which cut down on our PD, our resources, and anything else. So there's no money coming from the federal government outside of this Title III dollars, and this year we even lost more money than that. So we're on our own when it comes to supporting these students. We're doing the best we can. I can say Mrs. Bruno is doing an amazing job. And the teachers in the classroom, because you have to speak about those teachers who have the students almost 100% of the time. They're learning on their feet because this population of students is new to our district. I mean, 3 years ago, we might have had 1 or 2 students that needed that support. Now we're up to 21. And we're not the only district experiencing this. I think Putnam now has 2 full-time ELL teachers. So the region is experiencing a change with students moving from other countries to our area. It's wonderful for diversity and culture. On the other hand, it is an impact on our resources.
So right now we have 100% basically expense on our side.
Correct.
And I'm going to assume that not only if the student, is learning English as a second language, I'm sure the parents are probably not that far behind as well, correct?
They are. As a matter of fact, Heather's working on trying to figure out School Messenger so that when I send out a message, it'll be translated into one of the 6 or 7 languages. I'll just have to check the right box when I'm canceling school to send out the right message. But yeah, we're trying to use technology to help us with that.
All right, and then that's where I was heading with it. So thank you for answering that.
Right, Tarita?
In language-based class.
Oh, language.
So I'm going to turn this over to our colleagues over there, Mr. Prentice, Jesse Duquette, and Lindsay Calarco. They're going to first talk about the language-based classrooms that you know that we've implemented this year, and then I believe Mr. Prentice is going to give us an update on Right to Read.
Okay, I have a quick update about the language-based classrooms. Mid-year, we'll have like a more thorough data on all the language-based classrooms and all the classrooms in general, but we are already seeing positive data. Kindergarten, in our language-based classroom, I thought this was really exciting. In the beginning of the year, so in September, the average of the class for knowing sounds, so there's 26 letters, so 3 sounds based on those 26 letters, and now 22. And not all 22 have been explicitly taught, so those pathways are already formed, so they're starting to learn those letters, which is essential for them reading. So that's really exciting, and they are already reading in these rooms. So the teachers are already recognizing the change in that room. What the kids are doing, they're blown away. Overall, I will just say our kindergarten group is a stronger cohort than we've seen since COVID. Let's see, in 3rd grade, they just had done some updated assessments, and they're averaging for their spelling assessments, which aren't traditional spelling tests where you have a list of words that you need to study, but they're based on a pattern. So it could be 2-syllable words, it could be a silent E word, whatever that pattern is. So the kids don't know the words prior, and they're averaging at 80%. Keep in mind that half of that class are target seats, so children that have already been identified as dyslexic, have a language-based disability, or are in RTI for a literacy-based deficit, and the average is 80% or higher. So very exciting. So I can't wait for the January results. And then some updates. Dr. Donna is working with us for consultation. She has met with us as a language-based faculty 2 times. In October, she came in just to meet with the teams to talk about our grouping, look at our beginning of year data and our programming, give us some feedback for us to implement. And then she came back last week, December 3rd, and she did walkthroughs through the room, and we were targeting a specific area so we could get really specific feedback for us to implement. We're planning for some upcoming visits where she'll do another walkthrough to see how we're doing with implementation in another part of our day. And also a mid-year data review with us to look at our data and how we're going to respond to that. The good thing about this is whatever's happening in the language-based classroom is supporting our other classrooms too. The other teachers want to know what's going on. As I work with other teachers, it's inevitable that we have those similar conversations. So it's really beneficial to our whole school community. And then so having the combination of the consultations with Dr. Dunna and then pairing it with embedded PD that we're having in-house has been really helpful for us. So the language-based classroom faculty has had after-school meetings. We've had 5 to date. Embedded coaching where I go into the room. We're going to start where they're going to visit each other's rooms. Lots of question and answering. In-house PD where we're watching videos, walkthroughs. So all of that is happening as well. And we are keeping a log of lessons learned. There's a lot of great things happening. We feel good about that, but there's a lot of things that we've been adjusting on currently, and then things that we want to look at in the future as well. So things are going well, and thank you for having us back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We have a slide presentation being passed around. It's printed out, and you can certainly reference that. I'm pleased to be able to talk to you a little bit about Right to Read in the update we have. As a reminder, in June of 2021, the Connecticut legislature passed the bill, Right to Read bill. Basically, every town in the state of Connecticut, the state will oversee the implementation of literacy practices, and those practices should be aligned to the science of reading. And for those of you that need a reminder on the science of reading, basically, it's just a body of research explaining how students learn how to read. And so, again, Right to Read, the state of Connecticut is overseeing the implementation of literacy practices. And this legislation is targeting grades K through 3. A shout out to Kayleen, Lindsay, Jesse for the creation of the document that you're looking at. And of course, shout out to the teachers for implementing the strong instruction, this Right to Read information. So if you flip that packet, you'll page number 3, although there are no page numbers on there. Legislature will require the state to do a bunch of different things. We've highlighted a couple things that to pay attention to. All districts should be implementing early literacy reading curriculum that are evidence-based. This is required of every single school in the state of Connecticut. We are happy to say that we use the Wonders program 2020 edition. In the past, the teachers have been used to the 2017 edition, I believe. So there's some familiarity with that curriculum. So, of course, in addition to that, you'll see a couple bullet points down. The state, the legislature is going to require us to support the teachers, the schools, the districts through coaching and leadership. And Lindsay just briefly touched upon that. We have to do a lot of different things, but the literacy team went through a year-long process last year where we learned about the science behind reading, which I'm sure we have some reading professionals that were very excited to be part of that year-long PD program. And so that's what we did last year. If you flip over, and I'm going to try to make this as succinct but informative as I possibly can, on page 4 of your document, basically, what does this mean for Thompson? Again, the legislation wants us to do a lot of things, but here are 4 biggies, right? I mentioned it. One of the approved curriculums, the curriculum has to be evidence-based. We're using Wonders, the McGraw-Hill Wonders. The next piece, and this is mandated by the state of Connecticut, we have to use a approved literacy screener, and we use DIBELS. It's dynamic indicators for basic early literacy skills, and that gives us a snapshot in time of where our students are performing with respect to literacy. And of course, the state charged us with making a literacy team. We have the superintendent, principal, teachers, literacy coordinator, literacy reading specialist. So we got that out of the way. And number 4, the biggie, developing a literacy plan, which we're going to just really talk briefly about tonight, this right to read plan. And basically we're charged with developing like a 5-pronged approach when it comes to this literacy plan. So if you flip to we'll skip page number 5 because that just kind of gives you that 5-pronged approach. Leadership assessment, tiered instruction, professional learning, and family engagement. That's what the state wants us to focus on. Flip that page, we'll start with leadership, and I'm not going to go over every single bullet, but what I feel like is important here. Under leadership, of course, the school should be installing systems and processes to support the implementation of this multi-tiered instructional framework. So we, under district literacy team, of course, it requires us to form that team. I shared with you that we did form that district literacy team. We have to do quarterly reviews on this program, and we review the implementation of this 5-prong program to determine where it's at in its status and if it's been successful. And then finally, we do an annual review to determine any necessary revisions to the plan that we're putting in place. So goal number 1, leadership. State wants us to work on that. If you flip that page, priority goal, or that second prong of this literacy plan, is assessments. And there are 4 sort of subcategories under there. So we have an assessment inventory at the elementary school has been created, and we're looking for gaps and redundancies in our assessment practices, just making sure that we're not over assessing kids and then losing really important instructional time. So that's what that inventory means. That second bullet, 2.2, discusses the framework, and it's an assessment framework, and it is in progress. We just want to make sure it's reliable and it's valid, and that's where that piece is. Of course, subcategory 2.3, an assessment schedule has been created. Students are assessed several times throughout the year, and we have an assessment framework. And then finally, the state wants us to create a place where your data can be stored. And we have created a place where it could be stored, universal data, data from universal screenings, and curriculum-based measures as well. And the teachers, it'll be nice for teachers to be able to access this data to keep up to date with where their students are academically. Got to teach the teachers how to access this, but once they're able to find it, it's a great tool for them to keep up to date with their students and their progress. If you flip that page, number 3 is tiered instruction. And basically what this says is, so we're using core literacy curriculum, that Wonders curriculum, and we're using supplemental materials as well, and a multi-tiered instructional approach for students. So I mentioned this a couple Board of Ed meetings ago. So we look at our, when I say multi-tiered instructional approach, we look at our students on different tiers. Tier 1, every student in the elementary school receives high quality instruction. And then tier 2, you're looking at those students that need a little bit of targeted support. And then tier 3, those students that the tier 1 instruction is not working, what you're doing in the classroom is not working, but so they need intense instruction. So that's what we're attempting to do. So the categories under that tiered instruction, establishing a master schedule. What was important was establishing a schedule that allowed for the development of word recognition and language. And so we looked at and we made sure that there were at least 90 minutes of tier 1 instructional support in the classroom. So that's number one. Data team meetings. We do continue to have systematic and structured data team meetings. The grade levels look at student data. They ensure ongoing monitoring. Of course, Lindsay talked about the embedded coaching with herself, the language-based classrooms meeting. She's pushing into the classroom. We have Dr. Dunna that comes in and provides some coaching as well. And then finally, the big piece, the implementation walkthroughs, and that's something that Mrs. Smith has been a part of. I've done some implementation walkthroughs with Lindsay Calarco, the literacy specialist, as well as Patty Chenille, the math specialist. And we're really going into those classrooms with rubrics and checklists, and we're looking for certain things that teachers should be doing to ensure that the McGraw-Hill curriculum is being implemented with fidelity all of the time to ensure consistency across grade levels and within grade levels. Sorry, I'm going so fast here. If you flip the page, goal number 4, the state wants us to work on professional learning. So this is all about, the goal here is to collaborate. Teachers are collaborating with shared knowledge, shared skills, shared language, all in an effort to assist the child in the classroom. The identification of needs. So what this just means here under professional learning is we will, as a result of staff survey results, it'll give us an idea of what the staff needs in terms of tier 1 implementation of the curriculum. So we want to know what they need in the classroom. Again, Lindsay talked about the professional learning and how important that is. The work that we're doing with Dr. Dunna, the work that we're doing with the Orton Gillingham trained faculty members at the elementary level, that's all really rich professional learning. We have several teachers traveling down to Trumbull once a month, 3 teachers at the elementary level getting really great reading professional development. Really proud of those individuals, Ellen Pratt, Angela Jankowski, Emma Rea Clark, all in an effort to increase their ability to teach students in the classroom. And then finally, we have goal number 5. The state wants us to look at family engagement. Still, this is a work in progress. We had talked about earlier in the evening platform streaming, exploring options so that parents aren't getting a lot of different information from a lot of different platforms. Class Dojo, Bloom's, Google Classroom, so kind of streamlining of where parents get information. Literacy support at home. This will be really big for the elementary school and super, super important. Of course, we want to survey the family. We want to determine what they need from us. We want to leverage the family's strengths and their knowledge and their expertise with their students and communicate often with them to provide them what they need to make sure their child is learning in school. And it was super, super fast, but that was sort of an update with Right to Read at the elementary school. But this is across the state of Connecticut, and this is not just a Thompson thing. Every district has to do this, and I feel like we're doing it pretty well, and we're on top of it. And we still have work to go, but encouraged at how the students are responding and how the teachers are responding. A lot of work, a lot of long nights, but it's coming along, and I think it'll be beneficial in the long run. Questions now?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions for Larry?
When does it, according to the all-powerful state, when does it have to be implemented, and how? It seems like, based on other presentations in addition to tonight, we're moving along. We've been moving along on this kind of a thing. How are we on as far as schedule goes?
So it's partial, we're in the first year partial implementation. It's a 2-year implementation. We should have it completed by the end of next school year. Correct?
But I
But
mean,
we're
sounds like you're.
oh yeah, we're well along. We are really hitting our stride right now. It's a lot of work and it takes time.
And how does this all tie into, you mentioned it briefly, the Orton Gillingham, which is a stupendous program. So how does that tie into this? And does it at all, or partially, or is it just one small facet?
Yeah, it absolutely ties in. It's part of that instructional piece, that multi-tiered instruction. So in addition to that, it's part of the assessment piece. So we're looking to deliver rich, quality instruction to students, and training teachers in Orton Gillingham will allow them also to intervene with students maybe at the tier 2 or tier 3 level that need really intense reading, so that they really dovetail nicely together.
Thank you.
Of course.
And it's not only about the Orton Gillingham program, but the training that they get is in the science of reading.
Right.
And so anyone that gets OG trained is also getting that training, and that's what we're trying to capture. We can get every teacher at Marriott Fisher trained that way. You're going to start to see our reading scores go up, and our students that are struggling readers start to minimize. We're always going to have dyslexic students, but I think how we approach it instructionally, and I think your presentation was spot on. That was a mouthful. There's a lot going on. I know these 2 women in the back here, plus everybody else at Marriott Fisher, are working really hard. But I think we're going to, and it takes a while, 3 to 5 years when you implement something to actually see it in test scores. But they're already seeing glimmers of hope, so that's good news.
But to connect those teachers being trained, right, and to connect that and then have it trickle down to every single teacher and have it trickle down to every single student takes time. It does take time. It's definitely a process, but well worth it for sure.
I'm just gonna, I know I keep saying this, but I'm just so happy with the program and how wonderful it is. And I have a child who is in it, and they read like a 32-page reader to me today, if you can believe that. And I mean, like, it's sight words and stuff, but it was just, it's so impressive from last year, not knowing, like sounds and words, to reading like whole books is pretty amazing.
That's outstanding. Thank you.
I'm just gonna keep.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
How happy I am.
I'm glad you shared. We have a number of parents that feel the same way. So thank you.
Yes.
Kathleen, can I make a comment,
Okay.
please? You good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to say how impressed I am with Lindsay. Being a parent of a dyslexic son that was too dyslexic for a Yale New Haven study, for this to be taken so seriously and across all the grades with all the teachers, it's really refreshing as a parent for me to see this. If nothing else, in my opinion, the most important thing we can do is teach kids to read. And this is just a great thing. Over the last 20 years or so that I've been involved in the school, it has never come this far. And I'm just very, very impressed with the whole thing. And my hat's off to Lindsay and the whole team there.
Impressed Bill with Kelsey. It's a big deal.
She says thank you. I can't hear her, but she says thank you.
You wanted to say
No, I'm
something?
good.
Okay. All right, any more comments or?
Great job.
Very good presentation, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the track equipment purchase, and Brian's left already.
Yeah, he's on Zoom. He had to pick up my daughter from.
Oh, okay. Well, I want
he's
to
on Zoom.
extend a great thank you to Brian for reaching out to another supplier and bringing our quote down over $30,000. Great job, Brian. Thank you so much. If you haven't already been, I'm going to nominate you Citizen of the Year. So the quote now is $96,000 for essentially, and I believe it's the same. I haven't gone line by line.
And confirmed everything, and then Brian negotiated the price and was able to
Okay.
get the free shipping and all of that, using the local Rhode Island
Yep.
business, which was nice as well.
So the last quote was 130,000 and no shipping costs. That's great. So now this is 96. So that's $34,000 in savings. So,
Just for sake of discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve this,
okay.
but I do have some comments.
Okay. Well, let's get into some. Okay. Who seconded it? Okay. Just seconded it. Okay. Then I will entertain your comments, Bill.
Number one, I want to thank Brian for everything he's done. I mean, through being thrown into the chair of the building committee, Brian, it's Brian's business. He, like no one else, 95% of everything he does. It's his business. You expect it, but he does it, and he does it happily.
Yeah.
My only comment here is, last month, Brian also told us this was a good deal and a very competitive bid. And I think if no one had objected, we would have spent that extra $36,000. So my only thing to leave with this board is we need to be responsible with this money. It's our money. It's a taxpayer money. It's a half a teacher. When something doesn't seem right, like $2,000 for a tenth, just say no. You don't have to go along with it all the time. Again, thank you to Brian. It's the same quote that he had last time. He just beat him up a little bit. And that's great. But we really need, when a district like us that does not have a lot of money, we need to be careful and responsible with the money. And we all knew that it wasn't right. And without any objections, it would have passed. But now we've saved $36,000. So thank you, Brian. But I'm all in favor of this, approving this.
Okay. So noted. Any other discussion items? Any other comments? Yeah. Ooh. Okay, Justin?
So I'll echo Mr. Wachowski's statements on thank you to Brian for putting in all of the extra effort to go through this and get the quote that's needed. Where I'm struggling with this approval of funds is when I look at the effort and the monies that we're putting into the reading program, and the effort and the monies that we put into math tutoring, and the effort and the monies that we're going to have to put into ELL and ELS, and the monies that we're putting into people services. And this should have been a budgeted number by the athletics department as part of knowing that the track was being built. I'm really struggling with having to spend this amount of money at all when it comes to, we also have our children's education that we have to worry about. And we are here for an educational purpose. We are here to teach the children. And I understand that athletics is also an educational environment, but we have textbooks that need to be replaced. We've got Chromebooks that need to be replaced, and to turn around and spend this money is even still a struggle to me. I appreciate all of the work to get it to a lower value as what it is. There are still a couple of items on the list itself in which I question, and I did review the quote line for line. I'm not going to go into detail again on it, but I am concerned with some individual line items, not to mention the overall dollar value. So that's where I sit on it all. I think we've got educational resources that need to be supported before we spend $100,000 on this. That's all.
Well, I think at the time when we My opinion on this is at the time when we put the track estimate together, we should have included the equipment. That was a short-sightedness on everybody's part. It should have been included in the bond. It didn't happen. Mistakes, it was a big mistake, but mistakes happen. We would not have been reimbursed for the equipment, but it could have been bonded. They were looking at the reimbursement for building a track, and the equipment didn't dawn on Marblehead, if you will. So we cannot use a track without equipment. So here we are faced with having buy equipment.
Kathleen, this
Yes.
was not a reimbursable thing. This came from the ARPA funds, and through Amy and her vision and the rest of the Board of
Okay.
Selectmen, we got this. But it was to our understanding that there would be money left over in the funds
Okay.
and the grants that we could purchase. Now, how it happened, and you know as well as I do, that the Board of Finance decided that we should do it out of our funds. So it's not right to say it was short-sighted, because everyone had the vision of it being paid for out of any money that was left over from any efficiencies of building this track. That's not how it happened. So yes, we are responsible, and yes, we need it. But looking even in retrospect, this is not how it should have happened. It should have all come out of that same money. How we ended up here, I'm not going to argue the point, but this is where we're at.
Okay, and we cannot operate a track team without it. That's
Correct.
Right.
I'm on your side. Yep.
Okay.
Also, safety hazard, allowing our students to use track equipment that may be out of date that we have up there. And as somebody who has a kid who runs track, I can't, as a parent, allow them to do so with inappropriate equipment. And I don't think any of us sitting at this table is appropriate to make that decision for other parents either.
I don't even think you have half of this equipment.
No, we don't.
So.
Well, at this point, no, but I know I've firsthand seen the status of the high jump pads from cross country, and they're awful. And to expect our kids to use those again is inappropriate.
No. Yes.
I have a question, I guess more towards Deb.
Sure.
How much of this stuff will need to be replaced on a 5 or 10-year schedule? Any of it? All of it? None of it?
Well, this gets, the shots get pretty beat up after 3 years. We haven't purchased either one of those for probably years. So we're review for those.
Yep.
Turtles? Can't tell you.
They're the originals.
They're yours?
Yeah, they were from the early 90s.
So but I mean, is it going to be on the order of?
And the mats, like the high jump pits and stuff like that, there's like an 8 to 10 year warrant, wear on.
Yep.
We've gone way beyond those. We've done those before.
Right. So is it going to be a couple $100 a year or a couple $1,000 a year to just plan on this, kind of like we do with Chromebooks? Like, okay, we need to do.
We always try to buy a couple of pieces.
Okay.
You can't buy a couple of pieces.
Right. No, I understand that
If
too.
you're buying the whole thing, then you buy pieces to fix. Like if those guys come up and try to fix them. But you have to be careful about how you're doing it, because if you're not putting them back correctly, you keep using them when you
Gotcha.
liability issue.
Yep. Okay. No, I didn't know it was going to be on the hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. No. Okay.
The big cost is like that. After that, it's small items that you're using every day.
Right. Okay. That was my concern too. Thank you.
So I have Deb, this would be a question for you as well. Our track teams are typically the bigger teams or the most kids.
So last year, from this started at
Okay, so it's considerably, we have a lot of students that utilize. Yeah. Right, so. Okay, and then. And then we also have our soccer teams using this field as well.
And whoever's speaking in the crowd, can they please come up to the mic? We can't hear on the Zoom. We can hear the table, but we can't hear the person in the back.
It's Deb, she's coming.
All right, thank you. I know she has a lot of important stuff, so we're missing it. Deb, shoot away.
The number of kids on the track.
Number of kids on the track team, middle school had 55, high school last year had 12, the year previous to that, I think it was 20. This year, because of the new track, there's an upsurge with the kids, they're all excited about coming out, so kids that jumped to baseball last year are now jumping back. So as a result, we'll have 2 baseball players, leftovers, but the rest are going back to track. So that's why we're co-oping for baseball with Putnam. It's a numbers thing. Every season, we're jumping through hoops to provide the kids with opportunities.
So that's where I was going to piggyback this, where I can understand Justin's concern with, I guess, your books and, you know, our materials and stuff, but there is a real strong need in our community where they're really struggling with the fact that we can't support our sports. And we have this opportunity with this beautiful new track and all the stuff that we're doing at the high school that we have to do due diligence in providing the equipment for the track. I mean, it's 1/10 of the price of the track to have the equipment. And I think if we're focused on if we need it for a learning material, that's what our operating budget is for. And we have the money already. And that was a blessing in disguise situation that we didn't need to borrow it because we have it. So we need to use it properly. And this is a no-brainer. And we need to support our sports. If we're not supporting our sports, we're not supporting our students. So that's my.
Well, sports is a driving thing at any
Exactly.
high school.
Yeah, it is, and it's
That's
there.
how there's a connection, and that's why we've been working due diligence to get these kids to be. If we don't have the numbers in our building, to find a school that we will support us and bring our kids in.
Right.
It's checkers, it's chess to try to get them where they got to be for the number of teams. Like in the fall, I can't even tell you what we did to make sure they got to where they were going. The girls are doing the Killing League, the football team's going there, and we were jumping on with middle school buses and trying to use the same bus to dump the kids. So I can remember going to Wheeler with my soccer team, the middle school girls soccer team, and we were on the bus an hour and a half because we picked them up. We had football kids and the girls soccer team with us. So we made a drop at Killing League High, we made a drop at Ellis Tech, and then we went on our way to our game. But that's what we're doing to provide the kids with the opportunities. And parents that are worried about it, it's a numbers issue now as far as the numbers that we have for particular sports. For instance, for baseball, we know we have small numbers. So I started last year trying to find the school in the area that was going to be able to support it because we're trapped by numbers. If another school in an area has too many kids, then they're not going to pick us up. Just so happens that Putnam's struggling with the same sports in the same season so that we can jump in. And that's what we've been doing that back and forth.
Track numbers have been strong throughout.
They have. They've been pretty strong. And our indoor track team, which is some of the same kids, that started probably 10 years ago when Beth Tenike was here with 3 kids. And we're up to 15 consistently, 15 to 20 in the winter, which is unheard of. Because they're not running up, well, they ran on the track today because there's no snow, but a lot of times they're doing their conditioning in the hallways. And those kids carry over into the spring and add more kids.
So basically, you are letting us know that if there was a strong sport in our school, you would say it's our track.
Right now, as far as numbers.
Yeah. And just
Well, I just
throughout.
told you, our
Yeah.
girls' basketball team was struggling.
Yeah.
We've got 10 girls right now. 2 have never played before, 1 is injured. So really, that's the number we're dealing with. The boys basketball team, 19 kids. That's a low number for back in the day. I'd say even 10 years ago. And Tom, you'll know this. We had like 40 kids trying out for basketball, and we were running freshman teams a long time. We just don't have the numbers to support those larger teams. So I know there are parents in 8th grade that are worried about baseball because we have a big baseball contingent and they're worried they're going to have to play. Well, even if you play for a year or 2 years in Putnam, you grow your base and you come back. You're not locked in there forever. And at any one point, if we were locked in for 2 years, but next year our numbers all of a sudden blossomed, we can have our board and their board write a letter that we're discontinuing and we just go back to our own groups. They play their home team and we play our home team. So we're trying to do what we can best to try to give everybody the opportunity in the sports that they're interested in. And there are kids have asked me about wrestling. We had it arranged if they wanted to go wrestle in Putnam. After they said, yep, you have the opportunity, they need numbers over there, okay? You have to get your own transportation over there, and this is the time of practice, then it shuts it down. So we've offered them wrestling. They had the girls this year and last year had an opportunity to ice hockey with Woodstock Academy. Yeah. One girl came to me and said, "Do you have to know how to skate?" Yeah, that's a prerequisite. But yeah, but they have opportunities if they follow through with them. But a lot of them don't do that. They're just feeling the warts.
Kathleen, get hands raised.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Justin's first.
Okay, Justin?
So I take offense to the fact that I'm not supporting our students when I say that I don't support the track equipment. I'm looking out for the education of our students in the classroom. That is our primary goal, is to educate students in the classroom. My major concern right now is the optics and the way this is going to look to the public going into a tough budget season, and whether or not we're even going to be able to afford coaches to support next year if we go and throw this money at the track equipment. I think it's great. Throw the money at the track equipment. We get the track team. Track team does great this year. Fine. Next year's budget, we don't get the funding from the citizens of the town. We end up in 6, 7 budget cycles. We end up having to cut things. Coaches end up getting cut. Then what do we do? That's my concern. I think for someone to turn around, and I don't particularly know who it was, and say that, if you don't support the track equipment, you don't support the students. That I support the education of our students, and I in the right environment, I'd support the track equipment. But right now, spending that kind of money in the environment we're in, after we've got fuel pump problems and we just bought a brand new truck and all this other stuff, just seems a little reckless spending to me. That's all.
Any other, Tom, are you?
Yeah, Deb, and I don't know if this falls on you or if it falls on Bill Birch. If we approve the 96,000, that's for the hurdles and mats and whatever else. Do you foresee any other expenses? And what I mean by that is, what kind of upkeep? Are there special solutions that are going to have to be put on the track come springtime for disinfectants? Or, if we do this, I want to make sure we have all of the asks in one shot. And I honestly don't know.
I was the contact person directly with the track people as far as, I don't think it's the yearly thing. I think it's like every 5 years, but Brian, you'd have to.
Yeah, I believe that was in a maintenance plan, but is there anything that we have to do, us physically at the school?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Other
So
than
I can answer that. I'm sorry. I'm
like,
in the.
other than the mat areas where we're crossing, we won't keep those on the track.
yeah. Brian, do you remember if there's any kind of annual fees that we have to do? I can't remember.
I'm sorry. I'm just catching up to the conversation. I was a little distracted on my side with my daughter, but I'm sorry, Tom. What was the question?
So I remember when we were doing this with the building committee, there were additional expenses for maintenance of the track. Like, I remember there was some kind of a coating or a solution that has to be applied after 3 or 5 years. Was there anything on the annual side? Because if we're going to spend the 96,000 for hurdles and mats and whatever else,
is there anything else that we have to go back to the town that we did not think of, for expenses at this first year? That's, I just want to make sure we do this once and it's one time only.
Correct. So just to deal with the track and the maintenance, there's nothing that the town will need to do to that track. In about 5 years, there will be an evaluation of the surfacing. I already have a quote from CAFCO to kind of manage expectations on what we would need to spend in, let's just say, let's give it a range, 5 to 10 years. But initially, the track should be good for about 5 years, and then we'll have to do an evaluation just to keep the conversation at a 30,000-foot view. Does that answer that question, Tom?
Yeah, I know we had talked about it in the meetings, but I couldn't remember if there was a yearly solution that we had to put down or.
There is not. Nope,
Okay.
not the Capco product. Nope. And I can re-forward that maintenance quote and outline back to you, Tom, if you need it, and to the whole
that's
committee
okay.
for that matter.
No, I trust you. So really the 96,000 is mainly for the equipment. Deb, what was the outline? It was hurdles, mats, safety, basically the safety stuff that's needed with hurdling, correct?
Parts to get the hurdles in and out. We have pole vaulting, that's a huge expense, pole vaulting.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then the shots and disc for boys and girls that do different weights. So those there in your new javelins. I already have things like stopwatches and stuff like that. I also have measuring tapes, and that's all other. I do have a beat up rake, but we do need another rake.
I was never in track, so I honestly do not know the requirements of what's needed in a track and field situation. So I know you've got many years there on this, so I respect what you're putting forth.
The kids are all excited.
Yeah, I totally hear it too.
Great. Yeah, they're really excited. And thank God it's been 25, 30 years since we're going to be able to run a meet there. When was the last time you were there, Heather? 94.
I totally, yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I'm torn as well, as Justin is, but I understand, and it is the most growing program that we do have. And that's what I'm weighing on right now, that it's the only one that consistently still has membership.
All personal best.
Yeah.
They're working against themselves every day. If they happen to be a part of the relay team or whatever, and they're actually scoring individually and winning a medal at a meet, that's great. But they all get an opportunity to participate at the activity or whatever activity that is that they choose. If they're going to sprint, if they're going to jump, they're going to be a thrower. And it takes care of kids with different body types too. Kids that are throwers don't normally want to be a sprinter, but they want to be a part of a group. So there's an activity for them to participate in.
And the money that Brian has saved us, the $34,000, will stay in the non-lapsing account so that if we do need it for an emergency, it doesn't go back to the town. So that if we do need it for an emergency, a boiler and/or textbooks or something, it's available to us, the school.
Kathleen, there's no restrictions on that, right?
That is correct. We don't have to ask the Board of Finance to use it.
All right, thank you.
It just has to be used for educational purposes, which would mean for the school. Yes.
So I had a question and a comment. Question one is the upkeep. Is that a town expense or is that a school expense in the future?
That would be a school
It is
capital.
gonna be a school
Yeah,
expense.
the maintenance would be a school
Okay.
expense.
And then my second thing was, just before we do this vote, is that we as a board go over the non-lapsing account information, that this money is already in an account.
Well,
is,
once the audit is finalized.
Yes, so that we all are understanding where this money is coming from and that it's not taking from somewhere of need at this time. This is
It's not an additional ask.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
putting
So
in place from last year's.
exactly. So I think we should just as a board before the vote, just get it laid out as to where this money is coming from. And so if anybody's listening on Zoom as well, they understand that the taxpayers have already paid their money.
Correct.
Yes.
Come to the mic, please. For those on Zoom, it's much easier, Bill.
Did not bring my non-lapsing cheat sheet. However, the source of the funds is the surplus from fiscal year 2024. Your board voted to retain a portion of that, placed in the non-lapsing fund, and return what amounted to $206,000 of that projected surplus back to the town. Under the new rules, as has already been mentioned, the Board of Education from this year forward can spend that money at their discretion previously. As we had and continue to have to do on the existing non-lapsing account, where we have a balance of just over $40,000 remaining from the surplus from 2 years. That answered the question.
So Bill, does that mean we have 80 or is it only 40?
We have
What I heard was there was a carryover.
We have 40 left over from the original non-lapsing account from 2 years ago. The amount that we were putting into this non-lapsing account for 2024, that sounds about right. And
How much?
The board had sort of earmarked that for the track equipment. I wish I had my cheat sheet. There was one other thing.
Oh, the generator.
The generator repairs, right, which was about around 30,000. Anything that was not spent for those three items would continue, as Kathleen just mentioned, would stay in the non-lapsing account and could be expended at the Board of Education's discretion.
So what's the balance that's in there, Bill, from the carryover? 40?
Just over 40. Yep. In the old account.
But that legacy non-lapsing, Tom, and Mr. Steglitz, correct me if I'm wrong, that legacy non-lapsing needs Board of Finance approval to spend.
Correct.
The new stuff that we just put in there, that is all under our discretion.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, so I guess my question, Bill, is do we have 86,000 then to our discretion, or am I not doing my math correct? 40, say that again?
However, we've already bought the truck, which was.
So we have 200,000 at our discretion.
Right. That would cover, well, both the generator repair and the track equipment, with the balance, the remaining balance to kind of carry on.
So if we have if we have 200 minus the 96, that leaves us 104, correct?
Right. Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Motion to put this to vote.
We already had a motion in the second. So. Is there any more discussion?
Motion to close discussion.
All right. Hearing no more discussion, I'm going to put the motion to approve the quote for the new quote for the track equipment purchase to the floor for approval. All in favor of approving the 96,000, where am I? The current quote for $96,142 for the track equipment, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition?
No. Yeah, no.
So I have 2 noes. 2 noes. Okay. Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay, now we have, the next thing on the agenda is new business. First item is the transfer of funds, for the math lab.
Kathleen, I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, second.
So Kathleen, this request came from the teachers at Mary R. Fisher specifically around Math Lab. As you recall, Math Lab has been running for the past 3 or 4 years, all funded through the ARPA or ESSA money that we got during the COVID years. This year, there wasn't money for Math Lab. The teachers asked for an abbreviated program, and our numbers for BOAG came in less than expected. And so I sent you a memo requesting that we take at least 15,000 of that surplus, I guess you would say, that's in the BOAG line, and transfer it to Mary R. Fisher for Math Lab.
Okay.
It'll give us a 12-week program. And 4 teachers will teach the class, and we will target those students much like we do for reading for an after-school math program. It's been very successful and well attended in the past, and quite frankly translates right into our math scores if you take a look at them. So
yeah, okay.
Kristen has a comment.
Melinda, is Math Lab not servicing grade 1 anymore? Is that true?
Yeah, so we were going to target the upper grades. Yeah, I think I put it in grades
2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure what the reasoning is. There more need in that grade, or because I guess in my brain I think of like earliest intervention. So that's why I was wondering why.
So the why is really getting kids ready for SBAC. So really getting the second graders solid with those skills. And I couldn't stretch it over. I honestly took SBAC data in mind and then really focused on those grade levels, thinking that I just have X amount of dollars to work with.
Any discussion on this? Who's up here? Okay, Justin.
So, Melinda, you said this is an abbreviated program, or the teachers requested an abbreviated program. What would be the cost of the unabbreviated program?
Oh, it was up over 35,000, and we ran that, Justin, probably from the beginning of October all the way till the end of April, early May. So we haven't started it this year, and because we just didn't have the money, and then the BOAG bill just came in a couple weeks ago, and there's some monies there, so that's why I sent out the memo. Could we transfer funds so that we could run Math Lab again this year?
And this is a program where we've seen proven results.
Correct.
Okay. So just to kind of wrap my point from our last topic of discussion, this is where I'm struggling. Right. This is where I would rather spend some of that $90-something thousand that we just approved on a Math Lab program where we're teaching students versus the other thing. But I digress. Thanks, Melinda.
So I didn't want to make the transfer without the Board of Ed approval because there really wasn't a budgeted item for Math Lab this year, and previously it was all grant funded. There aren't any grant funding available at this moment in time, but we are. Patty Chenille calls the state almost every other week looking for money. So because HDT is another program that will end on January 17th as well. So.
Budget going forward?
Yes, we're going to put it in the budget moving forward.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? Okay, Okay, hearing no more discussion, I will put the motion to transfer the funds to fund the math lab for the remainder of the year. From January 6th through May 1st. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition say no. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes, Bill.
$15,000 was the amount?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, school calendars. We have 2 calendars here in front of us to choose from. I'm going to let Melinda, although she did send us an email explaining them, but I will let her review that.
Okay. So we have one draft of a calendar that is the 181 academic year for students. Paul, that our teachers get paid for 185 days. 181 of those days are instructional days, and the other 4 are professional development days, and those are reflected in the calendar. Some comments about the half days as good critical feedback about reducing the number of half days because there are childcare concerns. I just want to bring everybody's attention. If we roll back to 2017, when I first came, there were like 23 half days in the calendar. And so we, as the board, over the course of the 8 years that I've been here, have really rolled those back. So what's in the calendar basically satisfies teacher evaluation, which was an agreement with the union back in the day, not written, but a verbal agreement to support the teachers through the evaluation process. So they set their goals at the beginning of the year, and then they do a final conference at the end of the year, and they have to prepare materials for that, even with the new evaluation system. So 2 of those half days are for that. And then the other half days that are remaining are professional development, and then the parent-teacher conferences that happen in November and in March, which are critical actually for the elementary and middle school to track progress. And then the other half day we threw in the calendar this year was the half day for the capstone project that I think we brought up during our subcommittee meeting. So we went back, and state regs say we have to have 180 academic days. We've always had an extra day in the calendar. My first year here, that extra first day came in handy because we had 12 snow days that year. So we used that 181st snow day to fulfill those 12 makeup days. However, we haven't had to do that in a while. So we could go with a 180-day school calendar. What that did was that eliminated a half day in October, and it added a full PD day in March. And if you talk to the teachers in general, the full PD days are the most beneficial versus the half days. So it's up to the board's decision whether or not they want to go with the 181 academic school calendar or the 180.
I have a question.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Yeah, I'll hear you, Tom. Bill. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, for years, we had 182 days in the teacher's contract, and we recently made it 181. How is this going to affect it if we go to 180?
As far this teachers still have to do work that day, so they're still only getting paid for 185 days.
Okay.
Affect teachers at all.
Yeah.
This would be just the student.
Correct. So now the students will come 180 days, and the teachers will now get 5 PD days rather than the 4. And it pulls a half day off the calendar.
It pulls a half day off the calendar, but it pulls a full day away from instruction.
Correct.
I'm gonna,
No, two half-days get combined to one day.
Correct.
So they have a day. This was, what is behind it is the fact that it is affecting childcare. The half-days are harder on the parents to get childcare than having a full day off. They can get childcare much easier for a full day than they can a half day.
Oh, I don't disagree. I'm just asking a question.
I know, okay.
I think the most important thing we can do is have the students in class more often. But it sounds to me as you're taking away a half a day, a 1/2 day of a half day school day, and then eliminating a full day. So it's even less time in class for them. I don't disagree with the whole thing. I understand where you're coming from. I get the whole thing. It's just, it seems counterintuitive to take away more in-class time. If at the end of the year, there's actually gonna be more in-class time to satisfy childcare. It doesn't seem right to me, but it could be just me.
Kathleen, we got a couple. We got Matt and we also have Justin online.
So if I may, if I'm interpreting this correctly, it's actually a difference of half-day instruction for
Correct.
students.
Right.
And a full day.
Basically, yes.
More, yeah.
It's a half-day
So they're losing
difference.
one half-day total.
Hmm.
And I personally hate half-days, but that's my opinion. So yeah, that's losing one half-day is not as big a deal as losing a full day of
Correct.
instruction.
Justin, you have a comment?
Yeah, so I made the comments to Melinda about the half days in the schedule. I know there were parents in the district who I had spoken to who had reached out to me regarding the calendar and the comments of the half days and the number of them and what they felt, and I to a point agreed, the randomness of them. Happens on a Wednesday after we already had a 4-day week the week before. And I explained that in my email. I think the 180-day calendar, although it technically takes away the quote unquote day of instruction, that the half days of instruction that the students are getting, I think is, by the time they get whatever instruction they're getting, I don't know that it's necessarily benefiting them anyways, at least from my perspective as an active parent in the school. I think it makes more sense to just have the full PD day. I also think that if we are, and Melinda, my understanding that the half days happen on Wednesdays is because if they happened on Fridays, we had attendance problems. If they happened on Mondays, we had attendance problems.
Correct.
So that's pretty much why they ended up on Wednesdays. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. And then that being the discussion about the half days, the only other comments I wanted to get in were the Indigenous Peoples Day versus Columbus Day, and this is not a political talking point. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but we have some teachers and even emails that came out saying, happy Columbus Day, enjoy your day off, enjoy your long weekend. But on the calendar, we call it Indigenous Peoples Day. So my only other comment, which was sent back as a comment on the calendar, and I don't know if it's state mandated that we call it that or what, but that we call it Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day or Indigenous Peoples Day / Columbus Day. That was my only other comments on the calendar.
It used to be that way on the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, I and again, it's not a political talking point. It's just, our kids are understanding it as Columbus Day. We should at least be identifying it as such.
That's an easy fix.
Kathleen.
Oh, Matt has a question.
So two things. I agree with Justin on because federally it is still called Columbus Day, regardless of whatever.
Right.
And as far as the number of half days, we've made huge strides. Because my kids were in school here, it seemed like every week or every other week, and
It was every other
ridiculous.
week.
It was ridiculous, and as a parent, I want to support all the parents who have to go through all that, but the ones that are here are legitimately justified that, because I also do remember the parent-teacher conferences, and those are very important, and they do need prep time, and people that can come in the afternoon versus the evening. So I totally support the half days we have, and I appreciate that they're not excessive.
The other thing to consider is that we are an Alliance/Opportunity District, and one of the things that, if you heard Larry's presentation, behind all of that is the professional training. And so we're having a heck of a time getting substitutes even when the people are going out for OG. That takes a strain on the school, because we've got to figure out how to get all those classes covered, because that happens within the school day. Having a full PD day, we're going to get a lot done out of that day, and the high school needs it for NEASC. That's the other thing.
I have a question in like a completely different direction. Has the district always started school in August, like at the end of August? You've never gone after Labor Day?
Not since I've been here. Bill would and
I
Kathleen
just think
would know
it's
better.
so hot. I'm like, I want to be in my pool, and we get out so early. I was just wondering. I'm from Massachusetts, so we always went back after. So I didn't know if it was just always that way here.
No,
It's been that way since I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because you'd always go to school first and then the Woodstock Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, when I was a kid, you waited till after Labor Day, but then they backed it up a week because of
But,
snow
yeah,
days.
and I also remember going until the very end of June when
Right,
we couldn't
me too.
allow any more
Yep.
days after that because
Yep.
we
That
had so
12
many
year.
snow days.
I remember
And
that
that's
year.
even starting the school year in August. you
That
know?
that year we had 12. We had to give up Good Friday. I mean, there was a lot of
Oh, I
negotiating.
remember that, too, yeah.
We
I
we
was on
gave
the
up
board
a
then.
lot of.
Yeah.
We gave up PD days that were scheduled at the end of the year.
So-
Just be able to not go past June 30th, because you have to be done by June 30th.
I think that year that was the first year, we still, at that point, still had a full February break, and
Right,
that
we
was 2
stopped
days
that,
because of
yeah.
that was that year.
Right.
Just one more question, and that's, can we label the capstone half day as capstone half day? I think it might actually work to our favor from a publicity standpoint. We might actually get some parents in the elementary school and middle school asking, what's a capstone half day?
Yeah.
Okay.
So can we label that as such? That's my only other. Thank you.
Okay.
Danielle has the
Yeah,
option.
just a comment, like, so we're eliminating the 8th, which is a half day, and that 13th and 14th families are gonna be having their kids home as well. So just as a group, so we're all on the same page, if we move to the option 2, draft 2, they'll be in school that full week before with the 2 days after, just to kind of piggyback off of what Justin was saying, that, as a family, when you have a half day the week before and then 2 days off, then, that's a lot of childcare planning. So I think definitely draft 2, the 180 days, just looking at the days off and the half days, you're not really running into many where they're running one week to the other like you do in the October one. So
Well, there is a PD day on Friday the 6th on the 180.
in March, yes,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, so that would be a tricky week too. We can only do what we can do. So.
Motion that we approve number 2, schedule number 2,
I second that.
with the edits for the dates.
And the October 13th change.
Seconded.
Any objection to that? No? Any questions? Discussion? None? Put that to the floor. Draft number 2. All in favor of accepting calendar, the 2025-26 calendar draft number 2, 180 day? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no.
No.
Okay, we have 1 no. Okay, motion passes. I don't have any correspondence. Is there any in the package? I didn't see any. I've got my package so messed up by now. I don't think we had any.
No.
Okay. Any citizens' comments or board comments?
Kathleen.
Yep.
I just
Yes.
want to say, I'm glad to see that tonight. Amongst the votes, we had some where there was some no's, there were some yeses. I just want to say that even though I voted no on the athletic, it does not mean that I am not a pro athletic board member. I just like to see that, I'm glad to see that the process worked. Majority vote overruled. So thank you.
Okay. Well, no one, and your comments, and Justin, your comments were well received. Yes, our first priority is to educate our children. And we all agree on that.
Agreed. I just like to see, and I'm glad that, the process works. Majority of the vote, we're not into an electoral college where we get so many electoral votes. It's majority rules. So it's just nice to see that, listen, we don't agree on everything, but we all get along as a board. And I think that's commendable.
It's a good thing it passed because I'm very disappointed, Tom. I'm just.
Mr. Wachowski, we'll have a discussion later.
All right.
Well, it would be horrible to have built this, my opinion only. It would be horrible to have this beautiful track out there and we can't use it. So we will survive somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
Hey.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Good night. Merry